This is the Domain Magnet Show, where you'll learn everything you need to know about buying, optimizing, and selling online businesses with your host, Michael Bereslavsky.
Hello there, business buyers. This is an episode about the Domain Magnet market view strategy. This is the first part in a series of episodes about strategy, and it gives you a global overview of how we look at deals, how we decide what we would want to buy potentially or not, and basically how the whole operation, what it's built upon. And this is probably not what you expect, because honestly our strategy is quite different from others. So most other buyers, funds, and investors, they generally focus on trying to find businesses that are within their area of expertise and that they can grow and they can expand. And that's a good strategy. That's a reasonable strategy. So for example, someone might be really good at improving paid campaigns on Facebook and Google AdWords. So we will be looking for businesses with mainly paid acquisition channels, maybe some organic traffic with some good potential for growth in paid acquisition channels. So we would go, we would check everything, of course, we would make sure that this is a reasonably good deal, and then they're going to buy it and focus on growing it and improving it for that, through those avenues that they are really good at. While others might be just really good at Amazon, at selling on Amazon. So we would go and buy an FBA business fulfilled by Amazon, and then they already have their own team and their own resources to manage it efficiently, so they can add it to their existing set of businesses and kind of combine them and promote them together, all of their brands together. And that's another popular way to go about it. So that's why most buyers look at businesses within specific criteria, and then when they ask themselves, how are we going to make a profit? How are they going to improve them? Most of that improvement, if not all of it, is going to come from being good at managing, from being good at managing the business and having some advantages in that industry, in that area, in that niche. While for us, it's quite different. So we look at the market as a whole, and we look at all the different deals and all the different opportunities that are available right now to buy businesses. And about markets, so if you're unsure what that means, I recommend that you go and look up episode number 1, where they did an interview with Flipper CEO Blake, and it really explains quite well what a market is, how it operates, how Flipper runs, how to find deals on Flipper, things like that. And after you've listened to it, you can come back to learn a bit more. So our global strategy is to look at the market as a whole, and let's say that they're looking at a range of 6 figures. So all the different businesses in 6 figures, and there might be 5,000 businesses right now available for sale everywhere, for all the different channels, everywhere in all the marketplaces, for all the brokers and directly and all of this. And we are going to divide them into different categories based on how good or how bad the deal is. And obviously, some of them are going to be just bad, just a bad deal. What is a bad deal? So it could be something that's a scam, but this is actually not that common. And you can go back to the episode about risks, the episode that's called there are many ways to make a profit and only one way to lose money. That episode talks more about risks and about good and bad deals. So the bad deals are not necessarily scams with some fake data. They could just be bad. So for example, you might be overpaying. It's always bad to overpay. If you're paying more than the market value for this business or this website, or if it has some major risks, like one of the examples I mentioned in previous episodes was this SaaS business that was completely dependent on Facebook API. And once Facebook decided to disable their API access, the business just collapsed. It had absolutely no value anymore for subscribers, the subscribers of this SaaS business. So that would be something that's potentially a bad deal because of those unproportional risks. But it's not always something that's very obvious. So it could of course be something that's obviously a bad deal. Like then the price is high, the business is bad, the business is new, and it takes a lot of time to manage, and it has some major risks, and it's just like complicated, and it's time sensitive, and it's not evergreen, and all of those things together that are bad. But more likely than this, it's something that's not so obvious. For example, it can be subjectively bad, not objectively bad, but subjectively bad so that it's a bad deal for you. Like, for example, if you know that you or your organization or your team are bad at managing paid Facebook traffic. So if you buy a business that mainly relies on paid Facebook traffic, and you don't have a very good system of managing, growing it, it's probably not a very good deal for you. So that in itself might not make it a bad deal. But if there are some extra factors, like the price is high and there are some other risks, it's going to be a bad deal. So we look at all those different deals, and some of those are going to be bad, objectively bad or subjectively bad, and we have our own criteria in Domain Magnate. So we know that there are some areas that we are good at, like SEO, like improving conversions, improving monetization, and there are some areas where we are just not that good at, like e-commerce businesses. We can manage e-commerce businesses, but this is not our main area of expertise. So something that has, a couple different things that we are not very good at, and a few other risks added up, it's probably going to be a bad deal. And it might sound pretty obvious, but it's really not. Because again, many of those bad deals are going to have non-obvious signs of a bad deal, and not just something so easily subjective as being in an area that you are not good at, but also something like potential risks that you just don't know about. So that again comes down to due diligence, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And so those are the bad deals. And out of those 5,000 deals, maybe like 1,000 are bad. They're just bad. And then there are some deals that are kind of okay deals. They're not too bad, they're not too good. They're just okay. So what does an okay deal, like an average deal, look like? This could be a business that you buy more or less at the market price, maybe just a little bit higher. This is a business that has potentially some risks. Nothing huge, maybe, nothing major, but some potential risks. And it maybe has some opportunities for growth, but the growth possibilities are not that big. So they are limited. And it's just something that's okay. that, then you know that it's not a great deal, but it's kind of not bad. And I would say that this is most of the deals that you are going to see wherever you go on any marketplace, or if you talk to brokers, or if you try to kind of find some deals on your own. Most are going to be okay. So let's say out of the 5,000 deals, there might be like 3,000 that are okay. And if you buy one of the bad deals that we've just covered previously, like 1,000 out of 5,000 bad deals, you're probably going to lose money because there are some risks, because you paid too high. There are some risks, and the revenue is probably going to drop, and the traffic might fall, and you're not going to be very good at managing it. And it's going to take quite a bit of effort to run and manage. And if you buy an okay deal, you might do well, you might make a profit, or you might lose some money. If you are really good at managing, and if you have luck on your side, you might do well, you might make a profit, you might keep growing it even. But if you are not great at managing, if you are kind of okay at managing and you get an okay deal, you probably just break even or make some profit, before it starts to drop, or maybe be able to maintain it and even resell it for a profit. So it's unclear. Both possibilities are likely. So a bad deal, you are most likely going to lose money. And if an okay deal, you don't know yet. Both is possible. And then we have the good deals. What does a good deal look like? Well, again, it's kind of subjective. So a good deal for you might be something very different than a good deal for me. And for us at Domain Magnate, we have the specific criteria for good deals that I'm going to mention a bit later. And generally, a good deal is going to be something that you do not overpay for. So it's more or less at market price, or a little bit less. So you get a bit of a discount. It's a deal where you know that you will be able to manage it, that you know what you need to do, you understand that area. So let's say if it's an affiliate website, you understand affiliate websites, you know how they work, you've had some experience with them before, so it's a good deal for you. It's a deal where you might have some opportunities to monetize it better. Let's say you have some better affiliate programs, or you might potentially reach out and find some better advertisers who are going to pay higher rates. Or you can try and test different monetization techniques and monetization programs. Like, for example, if it's built on AdSense, you might potentially go and try something like MediaWine. And if you've never heard about MediaWine before, go and look up our episode with Amber, the co-founder of MediaWine. She gives a lot of great advice about monetization and improving your content websites. So a good deal might be something where you are getting it at a reasonable price, and you have some options to improve some things, and the risks are reasonable. So if it's a content website, it's not something that has a really, really bad link profile and a lot of PBNs and things like that. These things are really risky. So generally, it's going to be a deal that has some reasonable risks in terms of losing that traffic. So if it's an affiliate website, you would expect the backlink profile to be more or less similar to the competitors. So it's not worse than them, because that would create a major risk of losing that traffic, or of losing those rankings. What are some other signs of a good deal? Well, again, there are some subjective signs and some objective ones. So like we've mentioned, the objective might be price, some opportunities and some low risks. And subjectively, it might be something. It might be a niche or an industry that you actually like. So that is in fact something that might turn an okay deal into a good deal. Like, let's say that you're really, really into cars, and you've always wanted a Ferrari, and you buy a website about Ferrari. So having an interest in that is going to be a huge benefit, because you're going to be more curious, you're going to put more effort, to spend more time on it. So it's much more likely to be successful. So that could potentially be a good deal for you. And I'm not really into cars, so it's probably not going to be a great deal for me. And now we've covered the bad deals, the okay deals, and the good deals. And next we have the really good deals. So if in 5,000 deals, 1,000 might be bad deals, and like 4,000 and like 3,000 might be okay deals. So another like 800 or like 700 might be good deals. And then the remaining 300 would be really good deals. So what does a really good deal look like? A really good deal is generally going to have a low price, a substantial discount on the market rate. And of course, you might ask, okay, how is that possible? Well, it's not that difficult, actually. Many people often want to sell a website quickly. And if you have cash, and if they really need to sell fast and they don't want to go through this long process of listing with brokers, or listing on a marketplace and waiting many months, they might just sell it to you, and you can easily get like a 15% discount, because that's the broker fee. If you buy directly, you save them the 15% discount, the 15%, so they can easily discount that. And maybe even more, like if 20%, because you make it convenient for them. They don't have to go and deal with different brokers and then deal with different buyers. They just sell it to you directly, especially if they know you. So 20% is not unreasonable, or maybe even more. Also, a really good deal is going to have some reasonable risks. So you would generally want websites or online businesses that have some different sources of traffic, so that not all the traffic is completely coming from Google, maybe, or even if it is, maybe it's not all from like one niche or one set of keywords, but it's a bit more differentiated. Like it's not all of it is coming to one page or two pages, but many different pages on a website. So there is as much as possible of that, those different alternatives. So the risk is spread out. Also, you might have several different sources of revenue, sources of income, so that let's say you are getting some affiliate revenue from one program, and then some affiliate revenue from another program, and that you can switch them, you can change them, and then maybe some some AdSense or some media wine income or some extra stuff. So there is more diversification as much as possible. And then also that there are some opportunities for improvement, because especially when you have multiple sources of income and multiple sources of traffic, there are going to be more options for improving things and for growing things. Or if it's an e-commerce site, it's going to be a solid brand, like a solid organic brand, something that creates a lot of additional value, like a lot of long-term value. And it's also often going to to be something that is subjectively good, so that it's tied to your experience, so that it's in the exact same niche, in the exact same industry that you are looking for. And it's reasonably easy to manage, so it's not too complicated. So you don't have to spend a lot of time every day, or you don't have to figure out where to find the people to go and run it and manage it. And it might even already have, some people involved. It might even come with the team already in place, the team and the structure and the SOPs, the processes, how to run everything. And it would also have, a good seller, someone that you feel you can trust, and potentially a good deal structure. Deal structure is really very important as well. So maybe you don't pay all the money up front, but you put some money down, and then you have some payments, monthly payments, or some payouts that are tied to the revenue, to the profit of the business. That's always better. And in some good deals, you might have a good deal structure as well. That might even make it a good deal versus an okay deal. And so the really good deals are the ones that have all of those things together, or at least several of those things together. And those are the deals that we are looking for. So the key to our strategy as domain magnate is to look for those really good deals. And there might only be 300, out of 5,000. But since we review many hundreds and hundreds of different deals, and we might buy just several every month, so we certainly have the opportunity to look at a lot of them and go and pick the very best ones. And that is our main goal. So our strategies is based on the understanding that your success and your profit in buying a business does not depend only or as much on how good you are at managing that business, but it also largely depends on how good are you at understanding what's a good deal and what's a bad deal, and how good are you at finding the better deals and making them. So if you make, like we mentioned before, if you make a bad deals, if you buy a bad deal, you're probably going to lose money. If an okay deal, you might lose money, you might make a profit. And if a good deal, you are often going to make some profits. But maybe if you are not very good at managing it, or if you are unlucky and you get hit by a Google update, or if you run into some problems, you might lose some money with a good deal. And with a really good deal, you are most likely going to be really profitable, because all the things are stacked for you. You've covered all your risks. You've stacked up all the different opportunities. So you already know that you are getting a discount from market price. You already know that you have some good opportunities how to grow it further. So you know that as soon as you buy it, as soon as you take over it, you're going to go and implement all those different changes in order to improve the monetization, the conversion, or the campaigns, the funnels, or all those different things. And so if you're a really good deal, then you've done all that effort, then you've gone through all that effort to pick out the deals, to do the due diligence and find the very good ones. You know that your chances of success are substantially higher. And if we were to quantify it, so if a really good deal, you would generally have like a 90% or higher chance of making a profit, versus maybe just a 50 to 60 or 70% with most okay or kind of average deals, or even like good deals. And that is what makes a difference. when you are, and it doesn't matter if you are just buying one business that you are planning to run for the next decade, or if you are going to be doing deals like we do every month and every week, and you're going to be buying and selling all the time. You gotta always look at what is a good deal or a bad deal for you, and you gotta understand that well. And having a strategy, managing a portfolio of website is all about really understanding risks and having a strategy that helps you minimize those risks. And this is one of our key strategies to find those really good deals. So now you might be asking, okay, this is all good and well, but how do you find these really good deals? Where do you find them? And now that again depends on what kind of deals you're looking for. So we find that most of those really good deals are the ones that actually come to us. So these are not the ones that we find, but people who come to us and want to sell, especially those who made deals with us before. So I've been looking at some data recently, and I found out that when it comes to reviewing websites of people that we've already made deals with previously, our success rate is actually close to like 50%, while deals with, when it comes to, for example, deals that come through brokers or through marketplaces, it would generally be somewhere much lower in the single digits. So we would maybe look at 100 websites from most brokers in order to find, one or two good ones. Well, we would only have to look at like 2 websites from someone who we've done business already with in order to find a good deal, a really good deal. And depending on your criteria for a good deal and for a really good deal, and depending on the type of business you are looking for, the answer might be quite different for you. So perhaps what you are looking for is, if this is your very first time, a really good deal for you is one that comes with a lot of owner involvement, a lot of seller involvement. So you might want the seller to explain you how it all works. You might want the broker to be there for you on your side and accompany you every step of the way. And maybe that is a really good deal for you. That's something you have to decide. Now, for us, how do we decide what a really good deal is and what is not? That comes to the second part of our strategy, how we look at due diligence and how we evaluate different deals. So we look at every deal from 3 different perspectives. There are 3 different directions that our due diligence goes into. So the first one is numbers. So of course we look at all the digits, we look at all the numbers, the prices, the revenues, we look at the trends, if it's going down or up or it's stable. We do all that analysis. We look at all the screenshots and all the regular due diligence that most people do. But then the next part is to look at different opportunities. So we try to assess what are some opportunities, especially the ones where we are good at, like SEO or improving monetization, what we can go and implement to try to grow the business. And we also have to evaluate that subjectively, because we have to always take into account, is this something new? Is this something we've done before? Because that means that the success is a lot more likely. So we look at numbers, and then we look at the different opportunities for growth, for improvement, and that could be short-term or long-term. And then finally, we look at the risks. And this is actually the most important part. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go look up the episode on risks. That's called There Are Many Ways to Make a Profit When Buying Online Businesses, and there is only one way to lose money. And the risks are the most important part to really running a profitable shop when you buy online businesses, when you manage a portfolio. And risks are divided into two parts. So one part of it is doing the proper due diligence, again, coming back to numbers, and then also going and reviewing the seller, interviewing the seller, and understanding the market and the trends in the industry, and many other different things that you would generally look at when you evaluate a business and evaluate its risks. But the second part of it comes from experience. And that is actually the more important part. In order to be good, to understand, to estimate those risks, you have to have the experience, you have to have seen a lot of similar deals, a lot of similar businesses, and have run them. And then you'll be able to know what to look for. You'll be able to know what other risks to anticipate. So that, for example, if traffic is organic, you would know that you want to look at the backlink profile, and you want to look at the content, and you want to look at that compared to your competitors. And you would also know that you have to look at the trends. And this might sound obvious, but some of the things are not so obvious. For example, recently I was talking to a client, and he bought a business around November or December, and the business was doing quite well. It had really high sales. The revenue had substantial growth, so he expected the trend to continue. And he was very surprised, and suddenly at the end of December and January and February, the revenue just dropped like sharply. It was much lower than in November and December, and came back to the previous levels. And he expected growth, but instead he got a substantial drop. And the reason is, of course, quite simple. People always try to sell their business at the peak time. And as you know, October, November, and December are those months that have many shopping holidays. So many of the e-commerce sites and affiliate sites and many sites that have to do with shopping are going to have higher traffic and substantially higher revenue. Like for example, people often buy computers around November, October. So many laptop-related websites are going to have higher revenues during those months. And the client didn't know about that, so he was very surprised. And this is just something he didn't really consider, because he didn't have the experience, the knowledge to really think about that. And this is something that mostly comes from experience, but you get it quite quickly after you have reviewed a few different deals and maybe made a few smaller deals. So to sum it up, those three parts to due diligence are the numbers, opportunities, and risks. And this is how we evaluate, this is how we look at all the different deals, and this is how they define what a good deal, an okay deal, a bad deal, a really good deal is like. So a really good deal is going to be the one where the numbers are good, so that we get it below market, we get some discount, where the opportunities are good, are positive, that you can grow things and improve it, and where the risks are limited. And that also means that you know how to manage those risks, and you also know how to improve those different opportunities, how to grow it further. because as I've mentioned, it's not just objective, it's also very subjective. And understanding those risks also comes, a lot of that comes from experience. So that means that you really understand and know that the type of niche and that industry. So one question you might ask is, how do I get those deals with discounts? How can I buy business 20% below market price? And how do you buy businesses, with discounts like that? And the truth is, actually, it's quite simple. We are really honest about it. We are very upfront about it with our clients. When someone comes to us and wants to sell a business, we usually tell them that we are able to buy these businesses much faster. We can give them an offer. They can make the deal within days. We can close six-figure transactions within days, compared to most other, marketplaces and buyers that might need weeks or many months for that. And we are experienced. We know what we are doing. We've done hundreds of deals. We are very reputable, and we are going to guide them along the way. So we are going to make it a really pleasant and easy transaction and quick transaction for them. But in response, we expect a good price, and that's something that we are also very open about, because we buy for resale. And we always tell our clients, we always tell our sellers that, look, we are buying it in order to resell it. So we are going to buy a business, try to grow it, try to improve it, and then probably resell it for a profit, because we are doing it for profit. We are doing it in order to make profits. And people are understanding, so they understand it. If they come to us, they understand it and they expect it. So they are often going to give us a price that is reasonable, because they also know that they are not going to pay any commissions, because we buy directly. We are not brokering it. We are buying it directly for ourselves, for our fund, for our clients. And we are going to do it quickly, and we know what we are doing, so we are not going to ask them a lot of stupid questions. We are not going to make them, go for an interview like some brokers actually do. We are not going to make them go for an interview with a Filipino VA or with someone who just doesn't really understand how online businesses work, and then having them explain how it works. We already know how the business works because we've done hundreds of similar deals. So we are going to ask them a minimum amount of questions, and we are going to make it as convenient as possible. And in response, we expect a lower price. And by being open about that, we are able to also get more targeted sellers, people who just want to make a quick deal. And most buyers have the impression that sellers want to get as high price as possible. That if someone is selling a business, their main objective is to get a good price. But that's actually not true at all. There are so many more different priorities and criteria. Generally, the main criteria is not actually price. And of course, there are many sellers who just want to get as high a price as possible. But what we found is that many people, they actually want to make sure that, first of all, they know who they are dealing with. They want to be sure that they can trust the other party, because there are so many things that could go wrong, and in fact, they often do. I've seen so many deals that have been broken halfway through. In fact, just recently I was talking to a friend of mine, and he has quite a big company, and he was negotiating with a venture capital fund to sell the company for somewhere in 8 figures. The big company, more than 100 employees. And the negotiation took quite a while, probably like half a year or more. And during that period, they didn't actually sign that many documents, but the the owner, my friend, he provided all the details. He and his partners, they provided the VC firm with all the details, with all the data, and they were really expecting the deal to close any moment. And the potential buyer made them believe that this is going to happen. But then suddenly, in the last moment, the buyer just backed out. And what's much worse, the buyer, that VC firm, turns out that one of their clients, who was a direct competitor, they actually went ahead and implemented a very similar product in their product line, which became a major competitor to that business. And because they did not sign any very aggressive NDAs or non-competes, they didn't really have much of a recourse. So this is something that happens quite a lot. A lot of buyers are just not serious. A lot of buyers are just here to waste time or to get some information or to learn something, and then try to go and replicate the same business, the same process. And that is why many sellers, they just want to find someone who is going to be honest and who's going to be a serious buyer. And it's often not about the price. And many sellers also don't really know how it works. They want to sell the business, and especially if it's their first time, they just don't know how to go about it. They've never done it before. So they certainly prefer to sell to someone who knows what to do, who has the reputation and the experience. And that is also something that we provide. So really all those things together, as well as our 15 years of experience in making deals and many happy customers that often come back to us, this all helps us get more and more deals. And this is generally how we are able to get a good deal flow. And so from the deal flow, and we get some of that incoming deal flow and some of that deal flow that we go out and look for and find ourselves, because not all the deals come to us. Sometimes we also go and search for them in all the different places, and then review all of them through that framework of looking at numbers, looking at opportunities, and looking at risks. And we evaluate, is it a good deal? Is it a bad deal? Is it an okay deal? Or is this the really good deal? And then we negotiate, we buy it, and we always have a strategy, by the way. Every time we do a deal, we always have a strategy. We always know exactly what are we going to do, how are we going to implement it as soon as we complete the transaction. And that is also an important part of a really good deal, is that you have to have a clear strategy of how you're going to manage it, how you're going to grow it. So that is our market view of the buying of online businesses. It really comes to understanding supply and demand. And of course, you have to know the market rates. You have to know what is a fair market price and what is going to be below market or above market, in order to be able to understand that. But I also want to really encourage you to start thinking about making deals from a different perspective. So do some meta thinking, some thinking about thinking first, and think what is going to be a good deal or a really good deal for you. What are some criteria of a business or of a deal structure that would make it a really good deal for you? And once you have it defined, it's going to be much easier for you to do due diligence, and then also define what's a bad deal for you, And once you know what's a bad deal, it will be much easier for you to find some deals and just cross them. And so you don't have to go into due diligence for each deal in depth. You can just know that this is not a good deal because it has some of those parameters, some of that criteria from a bad deal. And once you know what a really good deal looks like for you, you can also understand where to find it, because you can figure out what marketplace you need to go to, what broker you have to deal with, or perhaps you can just go in and find those deals directly. Perhaps these are some websites in your industry that you already know. So start thinking about the market in terms of deals. Define what is a good deal for you and ask yourself where to find it. And that is the basics behind how we look at deals at Domain Magnate. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you would like to buy from us or invest with us, please go to domainmagnate.com/investors to read some more details. And you can also see the link in the show notes later on. And you can fill out the application form to see if you match the criteria that we have currently for investors. And thank you for listening. Have a nice day.
Domain Magnet is a leader in buying and selling online businesses with a proven track record of expertise gained from over 300 deals since 2004. To learn more about how we can help you acquire or exit a profitable online business today, head over to domainmagnet.com for more details.